kind of a coincidence that the waves are breaking right behind us, and our next guest has written another best-selling book, and it's called Fate Breaker. We're going to lean in with that, and there she is, Victoria. First and foremost, thanks for being with us, but take us back. What led you to go to film school to begin with?
Oh my God, and I'm so glad I went there because we were just talking about this. I learned how to tell a story, and I also learned how to talk about stories. But when I was a teenager, I loved writing, I loved books, I loved TV, I loved movies. I especially was a bit of a Star Wars geek. And at that point in time, I didn't really know you could go to college to study film until I saw a documentary on George Lucas, and they talked about USC and their film school and how he went there to study movies. And I thought, oh my God, people do this? And while I knew I wanted to write, books were kind of intimidating, if that makes any sense. I thought, yeah, film and TV, that's way more my speed. No sense now in hindsight. But when I was applying to colleges, my parents were like, you can apply to film schools, but you have to apply to, regular programs as well. And I only got into my film schools, so I had to go. And I'm so glad I did, because even though scripts and books look very different, in my opinion, the bones of storytelling are exactly the same. So everything I learned about how to build character, how to follow the arc of a story, how to build a plot, all of that is from my film school days.
I love that, the bones of the story. Well, you are a fabulous storyteller, but I'm just curious, did you think, a script is this, not enough words to get my story across, so you went from film into novel writing? How did that happen?
Yeah, so almost immediately, I was in my senior year of college, and at this point in time, the Hunger Games had been explosive. The books were a phenomenon, the movies were coming out, so it was very much front of mind, and I'd always been a YA reader. And then I got this idea for a story that popped into my head, this visual of a girl, and I knew this is not a screenplay, this is a book. And that sort of greased the wheels a little bit in my mind, and I got to thinking again, I want to write a book. And after college, I had moved home to Massachusetts, went from LA back to my small town, and thought that was a big mistake, but it ended up being a good choice. And I wrote a book, and 11 months after graduation, I was lucky enough to get to sell that book and kind of dive headfirst into life as a working writer.
Well, Victoria, you are doing great. We're the beneficiaries of your great storytelling, but I have to mention the cool cover behind you of this new book, Fate Breaker. I love the imagery, I love the title. Tell us more.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned those covers, because I love those covers. I think they are fantastic. They really jump off a shelf. As for the title, the first book was Realm Breaker, the second book was Blade Breaker, and they really refer to sort of physical things in the books. And then Fate Breaker is a little more esoteric, And I think it's a title that, regardless of this being a big fantasy novel, it speaks to all of us. We all sort of have to decide, are we going to take the fate that we feel like has been given to us, or are we going to choose a different path? And that is a story motif that runs straight through this book for a lot of different characters, of choosing, at the end of the day, who are they going to be?
Wow, Victoria, that was a great tease. Now, as we wrap, and congratulations on your latest installment in the series, which I can't wait for it to be made into a film. We'll get to that on our next interview, but as we wrap, tell us about the joy of writing for you, because you do it so well.
Absolutely. I'm a kid who wanted to do this. I feel like I grew up wanting to be an astronaut, and now I've been to the moon 8 times, and all I want to do is keep going up there. So on the one hand, this is absolutely a dream come true. On the other, I can't get too wrapped up in that thought process, because then I might paralyze myself a little bit. I have to, on the one hand, be so excited and thankful, but I also know this is my job, and a lot of people rely on me, and it's a job I want to keep doing, so I have to kind of keep performing. I can't kind of fall on my laurels and think, well, I've done it now. I want to keep doing this forever, so you kind of got to keep running the race.